Welcome back to the Sports Show. Now, you know, Baz, I've got a love for the bend and what goes on out there. It is magnificent. They have done a ripping job out there. Our next guest, Jayden Wanzek, works out there, mate, in the F3s. He's been good enough to come in a normal car today to drive in here and have a chat with us. Welcome to the show, Jayden. How are you, mate?
Good, mate. How you going?
Very well. Now, Baz hasn't...
What car did he come in?
I don't know. What did you drive in, mate?
Oh, I came in my dad's Land Rover. So.
In the Land Rover. So just so we can clear up, mate, Jayden's 17 years old. Now, we'll get to the start, mate, but before we get to where you started as a 4-year-old, I just want to let Baz know, I go out there a couple of weeks ago, and there's the F3. It's a tandem racing car, and Jayden's there with his dad. He said, jump in and have a drive. Yeah. I said, you're kidding, aren't you? This thing goes quick, mate. This is really quick. Yeah. What's the speed you get up to around the track on the bend in it?
The top speed is about like 240 down the straight, so it's not like super quick. It's still pretty fast, 240. I mean, it's pretty quick, but the biggest thing about those cars is the cornering speed. Like, I mean, one of the corners you take about 210. Like, it's ridiculous speeds that you carry for the corners.
So, Jane, you carry people around with you. You drive, and people come out, pay their whatever, and jump in the back. And you drive them.
Yeah. So I drive them around. So so they come out and they pay money to jump in the back and have a ride around for about 2 or 3 laps in the Formula 3, and they love it. It's. I
want you to liken it to this, mate. When you go out there, it's a missile with 4 wheels on it.
Exactly right.
That's what you're looking at.
Well, you must have people that go, "Whoa, stop this thing!" Can you hear what they're saying behind you?
No, I can't quite hear what they're saying behind me because it's just too loud to hear, and the wind noise is so much. But it is always funny when they get out of, like, you know, when you turn off the engine and they like jump out of the car and they always go, "Oh my god, like this thing's insane!" Like, it's so fast, and like they just can't get over it, like the braking and the cornering. Like, they just.
That's the killer, isn't it? That's the thing that I struck with Jim Richards. I told you about that.
Yeah.
That I thought, well, the first time I went for a hot lap with Jim Richards was. At the first corner he came to at the end of the straight, I'm sitting there going, oh no, this guy's supposed to be the best driver in the world and he has missed this corner. And next minute, whoop, you're gone. It is unbelievable. No, so the white knuckles, you don't see the white knuckles because you're in front, but there's white knuckles behind you, trust me.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Like, I haven't had anyone, touch wood, I haven't had anyone because there is an emergency button where if they do press it, it kills like the car, it'll shut it off, and then like sort of the ride will end. But
they've got that button.
Yeah, they do, just in case, like if they're feeling nauseous or something like that, they can stop the ride. But I haven't had anyone press the button yet, so so.
Well, mate, I'm going to come out and go for a ride with you so I can be the first one.
I think they're saying I need to drive a bit faster, so I need to scare them more.
Hey, mate, let's get on to your career because it has been a ripper. You started as a 4-year-old. And you go, I mean, most people are out, you know, kicking a ball around the ground. 4-year-old. Mate, tell us how you got started as a 4-year-old.
Yeah, so like when I was a 4-year-old, at like the local go-karting place, me and my dad went there, and he put me in a tandem go-kart, and he took me around for a couple of laps, and I absolutely loved it. Like, it was the most best thing I've ever had, and I absolutely loved it.
So just addicted to it then. So at 12 years of age, mate, you start to race, and you're doing really well. He's better than most 17-year-olds because he hasn't got a driver's licence yet. And at 12, you're not supposed to race against the older 17-year-olds and beat them. Yeah. So then they have a ruling, mate. You have to be 14 before you can start to race. When you found that out, was that disappointing for you?
Yeah, it was a bit disappointing. I mean, my whole life, like ever since that go-karting experience I've had, I've always wanted to jump into a car. And I have had to wait many years for this moment. But it's quite disappointing when I was, 12 years old, and, I've already driven a car, around some cones and stuff, and I was like, I just want to get on the racetrack and do it for real.
So you have to. It is a family thing, Dad. Did he drive? Is he a racer?
Yeah. It's definitely a family thing. So it was actually my papa that used to do sprint racing out at Malala, and then he sort of got my dad into it. Like, my dad's always sort of had a passion for it growing up, but he never sort of got the opportunity to have a crack at it. So when my mum met my dad, they sort of my papa got him into it. So he sort of shared the car together, and then once I was born and grew up, then my dad shared the car with me.
Wow. That's very nice of your dad, mate. And then you get to the Ricardo races, mate. Tell us a little bit about the Ricardo races.
Yeah, so it's sort of like a program that Daniel Ricciardo set up for like young people like myself to go in and sort of have a taste of motorsport and see if you like it or not. So you sort of have like a program where you can like go on the track and sort of not at speed, but sort of a relatively slowish speed, go around the track and sort of have a feel of it. But yeah, it was a really, really good program, and it sort of got me more confident in a car and stuff like that, and sort of knew that this is what I wanted to do when I grew up.
I'm interested in that word slow. You went slowly around the track. Now, what do you call slow around the track?
I mean, it's probably about 110, probably like that.
That's pretty slow.
Just cruise it. Just go for a Sunday cruise around the track,
I mean, we associate speed with the track. I know there's the safety and all the other stuff. So, you got to find your way, mate. Then Tony Alberto, supercar race driver, comes into your lifestyle, into your life, racing life, and says, you need to get back into the go-karting a bit. Why go back to go-karting?
Yeah, so like he was there at the Ricciardo's races, and he sort of said, because there was a bit of a gap from 12 to 14, I couldn't do any circuit racing. So he said, probably the best thing for me right now is to jump into a go-kart. So, and that's exactly what we did. So when I was 12, jumped into a go-kart, and I did that for about 2 years until I could actually move on into the real series in the cars.
Gee, they're young these days. So there's a lot of young drivers around now, isn't there? The guy that just recently took over from Jamie Whincup. He looks like he should not even be on the road, let alone driving a supercar. But there's a lot of you guys around, isn't there, that are really, really good drivers, and they're really young. This is it's a great for the sport, for the future of the sport.
I'm interested in this. So you go for your driver's licence after you've been racing around from 12 to 16, mate, on the track, and you're clearly a better driver than we would be. Do you find that a little bit funny when you get in, you've got the L plates on and, someone's trying to give you instructions? Did you ever get in with an instructor that didn't know you were into racing?
Yeah, well, going for my L's was quite funny because because you have to like follow all these road rules and you have to stick to a speed limit and stuff like that. Like all I've known is just keep it flat to the floor and brake as late as you can. But it's very different driving on the road. You have to be slow and careful and watch out for everyone pulling out in front of you and stuff. So
you don't do a lot of reverse parking around the bend though, do you?
No,
not a lot of that goes on.
Yeah, I had to build up my parking skills. That was pretty shocking, but I eventually got there.
Hey mate, tell us about Simon Willis. Another guy, super driver. He started to coach you for a while. How's that going?
Yeah, so Simon Willis, he's been my coach for many years now. So he's a 8-time champion all around the world, and he's helped me out a lot since I was 14 to now. He's still coaching me and training me at all my race events, and he's been a great help to me.
What do you reckon are a couple of the best pieces of advice he's given you so far along the journey?
I think the best bit of advice probably is be the most consistent as possible. Is consistency is what wins your races. Like sort of the other thing is to finish first. The first thing you have to do is finish. So so keeping on track and keep being consistent, hitting your lap times every single lap is probably the best piece of advice he's ever given me.
All right, maybe you followed that last weekend, mate. 41 cars in the race. You came in second spot. Tell us a bit about that one.
Yeah, it was a really good weekend for me that weekend. We came into, it was a little bit of a rough start on Friday practice. We had a few issues to work out, but luckily we got everything sorted just for qualifying, but it meant we didn't have enough time to sort of figure out the setup of the car. So across the weekend we got a lot faster and managed to get a couple wins in the heats and then a very, very close second in the final race against one of the best drivers in SA.
So what's coming up, mate? What's coming up for you?
So I think about 2 weeks' time, there's a race out at the Bend that Tim Slater will actually be coming out and racing in the replica of my car. So we'll have both the same cars. So that'll be quite an interesting race to see how I go with them.
Hey mate, Sam Shahin drives the Porsche out there and drives it unbelievably well. Do you ever have a race against Sam? Have you ever had a run against the boss?
No, I haven't yet. I mean, I'd love to one day to run up against him. He's a very good driver and obviously knows the bend quite well since he owns it. So, but yeah, I haven't had an opportunity yet.
Yeah, a bit of advice, don't beat him, mate.
Payroll, mate.
Yeah, that's it. That won't go too well.
But we were talking off air before we came on. I asked you about Ricciardo and how you thought he was going in the McLaren. You made a really good point that the car's not suited to him, and you just touched on it then. You didn't have enough time before the race to test the car out. How much time is spent getting the car to suit you?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of time in setup. Like, it's a huge thing in cars. Like, every driver's got a different driving style. Basically, if you put someone's setup into their car and try to drive it, it just wouldn't work for them because it's the setup is built around me, not around anyone else. So with the Ricciardo thing, I think he's struggling a little bit because I think the car is very much built around Lando Norris, and I think both of them have probably different driving styles. So Ricciardo's probably struggling to sort of change his driving style that he's been doing all these years to sort of suit the McLaren. So that's sort of why I think he's struggling a bit.
That's interesting. That's a good question because I love the supercars. I love Bathurst with the two drivers. That's got to be tricky because we're having the two drivers. Or he goes in, he does his 40 laps or whatever, jumps out, the other guy leaps in and boom, boom, strap up. There's got to be a different style with the two drivers there as well. How do they work that?
Yeah, so it's definitely it's hard to find like the right balance between both of them. So like even I find when I drive my dad is we have different styles as well. So like with endurance races, you sort of like set up sort of like in between your driving styles. So you sort of have a compromise for both of you to sort of for the setup to both work. So it's not based around one driver fully, it's sort of shared between.
So if they're setting up for Bathurst this year and they say, okay, I'm driving now, I want Phil, but I'm not going to take Phil because Phil is a totally different driver to what I am. He's shorter, he's he doesn't fit in the car the same, so they'll go and get someone else. Is that how they think, or?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a factor. Even like size and stuff like that is because it is much harder if you're a lot taller than someone else, like your co-driver, because then you have to put booster seats in the seat, and that's not the most comfortable. But yeah, you try to match your co-driver with your main driver the best you can. So you sort of try to find very similar styles to sort of suit each other.
Hey, Jayden, we really appreciate you coming in, mate. If you want to get down to the bend and get a thrill that is unbelievable, you need to jump in the car, the F3 with Jayden. It is something that you will love. We'll have to get you back in 2 weeks' time, mate, see how you went in the race with all the cars. And we want to talk about your sponsors and other things, but we're going to run out of time. So really appreciate you coming in, mate. Stay with us. Still, a bit more to come on the show.